no, there's its opinion, and we can sit here and talk literally all day about it. But you know what? I kind of want to move on. So we did WWF. Let's do a little bit easier because we're going to get a little shorter time frame. WWF was probably our favorite growing up, but the one that was right along with it was WCW.
Okay.
So WCW started late 89, 90. Before that was NWA, Jim Crockett Promotions, stuff like that. So if you're thinking like Harley Race, you don't have to worry about it because he was a territory guy. He was never really a WCW guy.
Gotcha.
So you got a top 5 that was the top 5 for WCW.
See, this one's going to be harder for me because I was a WWF guy.
I was too. You want me to start?
Yeah,
maybe I can start and give you.
I started
give
the
you
last one. Go ahead and start.
All right. So Ric Flair's number 1. Yeah, is that important?
No, it's just it won't stop. I'm just trying to silence it.
Well, we could edit that part.
No, it's all good. We don't even need to.
But Ric Flair's number 1. Ric Flair didn't make that WWF list because he only had a really brief run in WWF the first time around.
Yeah.
And then by the time he came back, it was after Ric Flair's era. But Ric Flair's number 1 because growing up, it was always Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair. Those are the two most recognizable wrestlers. Like, growing up when we were young.
For sure.
So Ric Flair's number 1, and he was, 90% of the time was WCW guy. So number 2 then is Sting. And I'm not even a big Sting fan. I never was. Never really bought in. Going back on the network, watching his early stuff, there's some pretty good matches back in the early 90s, late 80s. They got to the Crow thing, which was huge business. NWO.
Agreed.
Huge business for him. Not my personal favorite.
Really?
No, just
that's my preferred Sting.
That's your preferred Sting. A lot of people is, man. Well, that was at its biggest.
Yeah.
A lot of people remember the Surfer Sting, but Crow Sting is when everybody was watching.
Yeah.
So everybody knows that. So, but in all fairness, Sting is number 2, WCW, and again, absolutely not my favorite. But Goldberg represents WCW. Goldberg was
You're looking at it pretty much the exact way I'm going to look
Goldberg
at it.
was a homegrown star. They built him. They pushed him. They did things right for the streak and everything. I mean, they made a superstar. They plucked a guy basically out of nowhere and made their own superstar to counteract Steve Austin at the time. And WCW was winning.
Yeah.
Goldberg in front, man. They were winning.
Oh, you're right. I believe it.
And I got, Lex Luger comes to mind. DDP comes to mind. But I'll cheat a little bit with WCW, and because this is some of the people that I do like. And I'm going to say the Steiner Brothers.
Oh.
I'm going to say the Steiner Brothers. Again, had a cup of coffee in the WWF.
Yeah.
92 and 93, they were there. But really, they were WCW guys before. They went back to WCW after, and they were there to the end. Scott Steiner ended up being a big star. Rick, not as much, but as a tag team, I mean, man, if you ever have some time on your hands, go back and watch some, 90, 91 Steiner Brothers in WCW. There's nothing like it.
No, I bet.
There's nothing like it. Those dudes were
I'm sure they
awesome.
stood out in that early era.
Scotty especially was built like a brick house. Was the most athletic dude on the roster.
And it's amazing how much Steiner changed over the years. He's completely unrecognizable compared
they give him a live microphone in his hands, and holy cow.
Well, even his physical looks look different. He looks physically different.
That was the thing. I think in that era, when Hulk Hogan was a big guy, and you had a lot of muscle-headed guys that you didn't realize. Go back and look at 90-91. Scott Steiner was huge back then. And Rick was always known as the powerhouse, but it was basically because Scotty was the guy who could fly too. Scotty was 90-91. Scott Steiner is out of this world, man. I can't encourage anybody watching this, and you, my friend, can't encourage it enough. Go back and watch some old Steiner Brothers matches, and you'll be blown away. They're fantastic.
I might have to do that. I got the network. Shit.
I got the networks at your disposal,
What it's there for. Fine.
So those are my top 5 WCW guys. I'm going to hit you with Flair, Sting, Goldberg, Steiner Brothers.
Steiner Brothers, taking up 2 of them.
Cheated a little bit, but me personally, man, I can't go on long enough about how much I love the Steiner Brothers. So.
I know. Understood. For me, I'm going to have a couple of the same. As you do, and a couple that are different.
All right, man, let's hear them.
I'm gonna make number 1 Ric Flair as well,
because he's Ric Flair.
I mean,
by God.
I mean, I don't think I even need to explain why, really.
You want a side podcast? We talk Ric Flair.
Exactly.
And we miss Backlash, and we miss Work Tomorrow, and we talk Ric Flair.
The Flair of Fleer is what that podcast will be called.
Yeah.
That's his real name. But anyway, number 1, Ric Flair for obvious reasons. Mm-hmm. Number 2, Goldberg, probably, just because to me, Goldberg was the reason I watched WCW.
He was over
later.
He was over, man. And I can look at it from a wrestler standpoint where I say like, God, I wasn't all that talented. And
I just wanted to see what it was all about.
That's understandable.
Like everybody's wearing Goldberg shirts. I don't watch WCW.
Yeah.
I'm rocking a Stone Cold shirt or something, and he's supposedly the Stone Cold of WCW.
And
he's what made me turn on WCW quite a bit.
If you would have turned on and you would have seen a 10-minute Goldberg match, you'd be like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
But a 2-minute Goldberg match where he just mows through guys and smashes them, and then power move after power move, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
It was just 2 minutes of your life, right? And now it's like, okay, I like that.
Yeah. So that's my number 1 and 2. Number 3. Actually, 3 and 4. Scott Hall, Kevin Nash. And I know they're WWF guys. But Scott Hall and Kevin Nash were WCW.
They had bigger runs than WCW. They were. They were bigger stars than WCW. They were WWF. I mean, that's the truth.
They were themselves, essentially.
They were, and
their gimmick was they were WWF.
It was,
you know what I mean?
And they were definitely on top in WCW. I mean, you can argue Hulk Hogan in the same light, like the guy who did both, because he was there since '94, but '96 was Hollywood Hogan in those eras. '96 through '99, where the NWO was huge. I mean, you got a fair argument for that because that's as big as it got. And Hall and Nash, right there with him, man.
The outsiders.
That's what turned things around. That's what made WCW the show to watch at that time.
Yeah, for sure.
I can't disagree with you there.
3 and 4, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash.
Number
5, Eric Bischoff.
Okay. Nobody can deny what Eric Bischoff meant to WCW.
He's not really a wrestler.
Okay.
But the way I see it, I wasn't a WCW guy. Mm-hmm. But the thing that made me watch WCW was Eric Bischoff, if you really think about it.
Sure.
Everything about WCW that was interesting and made me watch it was because of Eric Bischoff.
I'll tell you this, man, and you're correct, because Bischoff took over, if my time's correct, is 93. So before that, again, you'd been really young. But, I seen WCW on TV, like Clash of the Champions would be on TBS. Sometimes they had syndication shows. They'd be, like, worldwide, things like that. It was always, like, the other wrestling. WWF is what I watched, and I watched Superstars, and I'd watch, The Undertaker squash a jobber. But that was wrestling. That's what I would watch. And WCW would be on, and it'd be like, the other guys. Arn Anderson would be on there. And I love Arn Anderson today, but that'd be it's just the other guys.
For a while there, it was the old guys.
The old guys, and it wasn't as flashy. The production wasn't as good.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Cheesy,
it was more. It was better wrestling probably, but that wasn't what you wanted when you were a kid. When Eric Bischoff took over, he changed all of that.
It was WCW's Attitude Era.
Those early Monday Night Raws, were just. Again, kind of just regular shows, and then the first Monday Nitro they had inside the Mall of America, if you remember. And it was something different. And they brought out Lex Luger. It was a big deal because he was just on WFTV the week before.
Yep.
Big deal, Ric Flair's thing was on there. And all of a sudden, and then, of course, going into 96 when you had Hall and Nash show up, that was Eric Bischoff behind that.
Yep.
Eric Bischoff was WCW. Cannot deny that at all, man.
No, that's why he's number 5. You know what I mean?
I like it.
Because he's not a wrestler. But Eric Bischoff, to me, is on the Mount Rushmore of WCW.
Completely fair.